remembers, he probably doesn't. But I met Claude when we were very, very young. He didn't know that. His mother and my mother used to push us together in the carts at Northeastern Camp Eaton. Way back in the day. We were kids together. I asked my mother about that, and she said, yes, you and Claude would be, his mother would be having him in one cart and you in the other, and we'd pushing y'all both together. But I officially met Claude at Oakwood University or Oakwood College back in 1981, 82. And he was doing his thing there, singing, he had music thing going, and he was a big time basketball player on campus. Claude was known for having a tremendous jumping ability, and somehow I ended up on his team during the season. And as a freshman, I was kind of lost out there learning a lot, but he taught me some things watching him play basketball and then watching his life as he developed over the years and how he's the one that really started Take Six in the way in the bathroom. From what I understand, there was the bathroom, him and some boys was in there, and Mark came in there and added the pieces, and off they went. And to this day, I guess it's been about, what, 30 some odd years now? Take Six has been in existence? 32 years from when y'all really hit it in 88?
33 years professionally. Yeah, I started the group, though, 1980, my brother. 40
yeah, right
years
before I
ago.
got there. Yeah, the year before I got there. And y'all were Alliance. And everybody would always, when they were saying the Alliance was about to sing, everybody come running in the gym or wherever we were to hear Alliance sing. They were good then. And then all of a sudden they're taking off to big time. And Claude is a very humble individual. He sings the first tenor in the group. And most of the time he sings a lot of leads too. If you listen to the group, it's him singing that high lead. I always laugh at him because the faces he makes when he's singing them high parts have me cracking up all the time. But he can blow. And he comes from a musical family. His family all can see his brother Fred, his brother Brian Mcknight, and he's even with the Willis family, the Chris Willis, all of them. They have a musical family, beautiful. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring you the man, the myth, and the legend.
And the Gill family.
And the Gill family. Oh, thank you, Rita. Claude Mcknight. And Claude, there's a few people that know you on this line that will know you when you see them. All right, Claude, the floor is yours.
Before Claude starts, I want to ask everyone, could they just keep their cameras off? Because I am recording. And then at the end, as you know, you can unmute yourself and you can also turn your cameras back on. Thank you.
So first of all, hello, everybody. I will start out by saying, you see me, I'm out here kind of in the woods. I'm in California, Southern California, but it's a little chilly out here. And there's actually snow on the ground and all of that. But I needed to get away from LA for a minute just to kind of clear my palate, you know. I'm working on some things, and I felt that I actually do better getting away and, you know, communing with nature. So William asked me to do this, and I never heard that story about our moms pushing us in the strollers, but that's pretty awesome. So I guess we do go way, way back. I'm not exactly sure what to say other than this has been quite the year, right? For all of us. You know, I can tell you about the year that Take Six is having. Those of you who follow what we do, or even if you don't follow what we do, we've been doing this professionally for 30 plus years. And when I say we've been doing this, I mean, we've been traveling 130, 140 days a year, every year for the past 30 plus years. Not this year, though. You know, our ministry has been halted as far as traveling is concerned, but the ministry hasn't stopped. You know, and that's what I would say to any and everybody is I believe the Lord allows us to be in situations that we didn't ask for necessarily, you know, good, bad, indifferent, to see who we are, to see what we're made of, to see what our spiritual makeup is. And I can tell you that those of us in Take Six have been there for each other throughout this. We're brothers, we're family. We pray for each other. We have worship services. We have, we get together online each week just to make sure each one of us is doing well, you know, and if we're not doing well, we lift each other up. I think that's what's most important right now is finding somebody who maybe you haven't talked to in a while. Lift them up. You don't know what they're going through. You know, we all claim to know God, don't we? You know, but until you are in situations where your faith needs to be tested, we don't know who we are. You know, I don't know who I am until something happens and the muscles that I think that I've been working out with, you know, as far as my spiritual muscles have to come into play. And I think sometimes you find out, uh-oh, I'm not quite in the shape I thought I was, you know, and I just trying to be real here. I think that's who we all are. We don't want to admit it. I mean, I can admit it. You know, there are days when I'm like, Lord, I can't make it through without you at all, you know, and I'm sure there are people on this call right now who feel the same way. I just want to share that with you all. Well, you got anything you want to ask me? I just wanted to share that first of all.
We can,
Okay. Hello?
yes, we hear you.
Okay. Okay. First of all, Claude, I want to ask you some questions, man. Tell us a little bit about how, from the beginnings, what are some of the things that you've really enjoyed while in your travels with Take Six?
One of the biggest things is, and I would recommend this to everyone, find a way to travel, because what we have found, and I find all the time, is that people are a lot more alike than they are different. And that's
Okay.
all over the world. We all want the same things. We want love. We want camaraderie. We want so many things that are truly the same. We can speak different languages. We can have many things that you consider to be differences, but underneath it, we are all the same. So that's probably one of the biggest takeaways that I can give anyone as far as what travel has been like, being with Take Six all these years. I guess the other thing is, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, I think being with my guys for so long, we have literally been able to, you know, iron sharpens iron. You know, we hold each other accountable on the road.
Oh, no.
We lift each other up on the road. And it really, really has come into play that we are each other's keeper. And I think that's what the road has meant for us.
Okay, good, because you know that's very important. Now, in your travels, like when you go to say Japan and other foreign countries, when you all singing, do they understand what you're saying, or do you have an interpreter going? How does that work while y'all singing?
So it depends on where we are. English is pretty much the second language everywhere you go in the world.
Okay.
But having said that, a lot of times we will have an interpreter depending on how deep in the country we are, or how deep in certain places. But we've been so many places that a lot of people know the songs that we're singing. So even if they don't have a really great grasp on English, they know what it is we're singing about.
Okay. Now, what's the not the craziest, but what's the one spot that you've been to sing that you felt like, man, we out in the middle of nowhere? Where are we?
Wow. Maybe the first time we went to China, it was kind of like that. You know, you hear a lot of stories about China, but until you go there, you don't realize how different it is. You know, you think that Japan and China are alike or whatever, but they're not. They're very, very different. And China's one of those places that you don't get a lot of information because they keep a lot of that stuff in-house. Also, I would say, as I'm thinking about it, Cuba was really, really interesting, but not from a bad or weird perspective, but just because anybody who knows the story about Cuba, you know, basically Americans were shut out of Cuba and couldn't go there for like the last 50 years. So we went about 5 years ago when then President Obama opened it up. We were the first group that was sanctioned by the U.S. State Department to go to Cuba. And we sang there in front of like 5,000 people who knew our music. But the other really crazy thing about Cuba is they're stuck in the 50s, meaning that they literally are. they have cars there that are mid to late 50s American cars and everything, because everything was shut down then. So those cars are still on the road. Their architecture is still in the 50s and whatnot, from when Fidel Castro took over. So that's a really interesting thing to see.
Wow. Okay.
I have a question, Claude. This is Mrs. Felder. You talked a little bit about your faith and how you really don't know unless sometimes you're put in the situations. Can you think of a story or a testimony or something where your faith was really, really challenged?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, probably have 100 stories, but now that I'm
So,
on the hot seat. Let me see if I can find one. Um, I would say, okay, so, my mom passed 3.5 years ago. And even though we knew the time was drawing, nigh, until that happens, you really don't know how it's going to affect you. And I remember having a conversation with her literally a week before she passed. And my mom said to me, baby, it's going to be okay. And, that floored me, because here is someone who knew that it was going to be within days that she was going to pass. And once that happened, for me, it became so real, and I had to call on everything inside of my spiritual being to deal with that, and to know that I, wouldn't talk to my mom again in the flesh here on this earth. So I think that's one thing that I can share that really comes to mind as far as testing my spiritual mettle, so to speak.
yeah, I can relate to that story. As a Seventh Adventist, have you found it hard in the music world to like avoid certain things, or where like I know Quincy Jones and all them guys, and I know they're not Adventists, but they have things that they want to do. Do they kind of book around the Sabbath for you guys, or how do they operate?
Well, here's the thing. For us, early on, we realized that our ministry was going to be different from most traditional ministries.
Hmm.
And we even had conversations about, well, do we play or do we do shows on Friday night and Sabbath and stuff? And we decided, you know what? The Lord gave us the talents to be soldiers for Him every moment of every day. So that was
Hmm.
never an issue for us once we banded together. Now, to answer the question about other people, let me give you a really interesting story that happened with us less than 2 years ago. We worked in the studio with Dr. Dre,
Okay.
and it was literally just doing some demos on some stuff that he wanted us to do. And one of the songs had a bunch of cussing and stuff in it. And we kind of sat around, and you could tell that all of us were like, man, don't know what to say, don't know what to say. Dr. Dre, of all people, said, hey, look, what do you guys need me to change? I know this doesn't work for you. So, in other words, our reputation and who it is that he knew us to be spoke to him without us having to say a word. And
Hmm.
I think that that's the testament that you want, where you don't have to necessarily tell somebody, hey, look, this doesn't work for me, this isn't cool, whatever. If they already know, they will do what they need to do to fit you in the way that makes it right and comfortable for you.
Amen.
Okay. Amen to
Amen.
that.
Amen.
That's an excellent story right there. That's good to know. Have you who are some of the famous people you've worked with? I know Dr. Dre. Who are the couple people you've worked with in the past that you really enjoyed just singing for?
Al Jarreau, Kenny Rogers, of course, Quincy, Stevie Wonder. Um, we worked with Ella Fitzgerald on her very last project.
Really? Okay.
Um, Man, Queen Latifah, Whitney Houston.
Oh, you
I
guys.
mean, so we've had a very interesting, storied career. And it's funny because all of those people, man, are just regular, down to earth people.
Ah, They're not sedity like the rest, like people would think they would be, huh?
No, I think what
Ah.
happens is people who are really, really successful at what they do generally don't have to flex with their ego. You
All
know,
right. Mm-hmm.
I think it's the other people who are on the way up or who don't really have a good grip on who it is they are yet. They
Mm-hmm.
want to tell you who they are, and they want that to be their calling card, so to speak. But I think once you get into a place where you already know who you are and you have a certain amount of success, that speaks for you.
Mm.
There's a
Okay.
question in the chat room. Someone is asking, tell us a little bit about your days at Oakwood.
So my days at Oakwood were interesting because I actually only went to Oakwood as a student for 2 years, 1980 through 1982. Now, when I first got there, let me go back. So my parents went to Oakwood, which is why I went. I was a trombone player growing up, and I wanted to be an orchestrator and play in a big band somewhere. But Oakwood didn't have a real band program, so I only went there because my parents wanted me to. When I got there is when I started the group, and kind of the rest is history as far as that's concerned. So I know it was providential that I went to Oakwood as opposed to some other school for what it was I thought I wanted to do. But other stuff as far as Oakwood is concerned, man, like William said, I played ball like every day.
Yep.
There were times I barely went to class.
Oh
And it
my.
wasn't that I wasn't a good student. It's just I didn't care for class that much. I wanted to socialize. So I was really, really shy when I got to Oakwood. And it was actually also the first African American school I had ever been to, because I grew
Mm.
up in Caucasian, white schools my entire life. So I was always, it was like me and my brother Fred were like the only black kids in the school. Then my brother Michael, and then finally Brian. So when I got to Oakwood, I was like, man, all these black people, look at this, So I had a good time at Oakwood. I socialized a lot. I met some really, really good people. I started my group there. And, maybe this is for another conversation at some point, but the reason why I only went to Oakwood for 2 years is because I got kicked out.
Oh,
Oh,
a family trait, huh?
Man, yeah, I got kicked out of Oakwood. And yeah, I love my alma mater.
Mm-hmm. They
But
love you still,
yeah,
though. They still love you.
yeah, I was a knucklehead for a minute.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. So when are the McKnights going to put an album together? I guess
We,
the go ahead.
it's funny. So there's four boys. I'm the oldest and Brian's the youngest. And we grew up having a quartet. Um, I'm pretty sure we won't ever actually do an album. But I think what would be cool is if those of us who are in the business, our kids are extremely musical as well. Both of my daughters and Brian's sons, and Freddie's son and Michael's kid. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
we'll have like a family thing at some point. Um, so it could be in the works.
That would work. Yeah, a McKnight family thing, and then if you threw in the Willises and the Gills, or y'all really have a choir going.
It's a wrap, man. It's a wrap.
Yeah, because I've
Hmm.
heard y'all sing. Y'all did a thing on Facebook or whatever. I heard the whole group singing, y'all singing together. I was like, man, that was awesome.
Yeah, man.
That's an
It's always
awesome
been fun.
thing.
That's what our family reunions are like that. We eat, we sing, and we cry.
Mm, okay. All right. That is cool, man. But yeah, I just wanted. So when you doing your solo album? Weren't you working on a solo album? I thought.
So I'm always working on something solo. Um, Here's a little tidbit that I'll share with everybody. After singing for 30 plus years professionally with Take Six, I still don't really know who I am as a solo artist. So until I figure that completely out, I'm still experimenting. So we'll see.
Okay. And one more question I got for you. There's some groups that you trained with, like not after, so what they called Seventh Element, and there's the other group that I think from New York. I can't remember the name right now. That Adventist, and they sing with matter of fact, the guy sang bass for you guys a couple times. Hops, that group that he was in.
Oh, he was a Naturally Seven.
Yeah, naturally seven. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you all trained them or trained with them or helped them along the way?
Well, not really. I think more than anything, what we have done for other groups is just kind of pave the way, you know? And that's what I know is the best thing that we can do is just kind of do our thing in whatever this show business entertainment thing is. And because we're the older guys now,
Right.
you know, they come up behind us and, you know, they do their thing, man. It's the same thing with Brian. I never had to show him anything, but I remember him saying one time that from him seeing Take Six do what we've done, he was like, man, I can do that too. So I think what you do is you pave the way for others.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot for coming on tonight.
My
All right, we're
pleasure.
gonna open it up. We're gonna open it up for questions now. So anybody who has a question, unmute yourself and ask a question. Don't be scared.
Hi, I'll do one. Can you hear me? This is Katrina. I'm calling from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I went to Oakwood with Leslie. We went there in 90 until 95, and I had a question. Just wondering, are there any scriptures that come to your mind when you're going through trouble that you call on to help get you through any tough or terrible situations you might have?
You know, I think probably the biggest thing that has helped me is come unto me, all you who labor, you know? That's one of the songs that we sing in the group. And that's always helped me. It's always been something that has been near and dear to my heart.
Any more questions?
Who will be next? You can unmute yourself.
I'll ask a question. Good evening. How are you? Daphne Durden here in Columbus. I want to know, what is your favorite song? Of all the songs that you've made throughout the years, what's your favorite?
Okay. So, wow. It kind of changes from day to day depending on my mood. But my overall favorite song is a song that we did on the Quincy Jones album, Back on the Block. It's called Setembro. And it's the Brazilian wedding song. And there's just
yes, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, I love that song.
Okay. Oh, I have a question for you. When you've been on stage, have you gotten up there and messed up singing a song?
Oh, man, yeah, all the time.
I mean, have you said all the time? Okay.
Yeah. So the thing is, if you are in this business, you will mess up from time to time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, we got up to sing the wrong song or the wrong note, or what happened? How did had the group as a whole all of a sudden started off on like the wrong note, and then you catch yourselves, you try to make it up, or everybody ear turns up and you fix it? How does it work?
Okay, so one time we started in the wrong key and had to stop ourselves and start over. I do remember that. There have been numerous times where I've forgotten lyrics in the middle of the songs. And I mean, and you mess up notes all the time. We're human. So we just have fun with it, man. Because if it's always fun to you, then you don't feel like it's the end of the world when you mess up.
Okay. Do y'all talk bad about each other in the back room though when it happens? Start laughing at each other?
Absolutely. Yes.
What were you thinking? What were you doing? There's a gentleman on the line that knows you. And he just popped up out of the clear blue sky. I met him last week at his church, and his name is Paul Spradley. Do you know him?
I know Paul.
He claims he knows you. I don't know if he knows you, but he claims he knows you. He's right there. Can you see him?
Oh, I can't. So,
okay.
So my, I'm not sure what it is I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of me, but you know.
Okay.
You can turn your videos on, everyone, if you want to let Mr. Mcknight see your faces, your beautiful faces.